Okay, so how do you take a company from just a $500 bet all the way to an eight-figure business? Well, we're going to break it all down. We're distilling over 13 years. That's 5,000 days of wins, losses, and some really brutal lessons into a playbook that any entrepreneur can learn from.
You know, the founder, Michael Mogul, really put it best. This quote just perfectly captures the absurd distance between where his company started and where it is today. I mean, the whole idea of doing caviar bumps seemed quite literally about as likely as setting up a civilization on Mars. Just think about that.
And look, the journey itself is just staggering. I mean, can you imagine starting with $500 in your pocket and eventually commanding an $8 million event budget? Or going from working in the back room of a dental office to booking an entire NFL Super Bowl stadium? The real question here is, how on earth did they pull that off?
All right, so let's start right at the beginning. We're talking about the first era, which the founder actually calls the Dark Ages. And really, this whole period was defined by one thing and one thing only: pure, relentless survival.
You can basically think of it as the Wild West. There was no playbook, no systems, no structure at all. The only guide they had was gut instinct, and it was fueled by these insane 100-hour work weeks and just the hope that something, anything really, would eventually stick. And this quote really gets to the heart of the mindset back then. In the very beginning, the only competitive advantage they thought they had was the founders' willingness to just outwork everyone. It was a badge of honor, for sure, but as we'll see, it was also a strategy with a very, very real ceiling. And let me tell you, the progress was slow. It was so hard-won. It all started back in that dental office in 2012, and it took them 3 full years just to hit $1 million in revenue. But then came 2017. And one single decision that year completely changed the game. So the key lesson from this whole grind era is actually pretty simple. Sheer grit, that hustle, it gets you in the game absolutely, but it doesn't let you win it. See, being a jack of all trades was actually keeping them small. It was specializing, zeroing in on just the legal industry. That was the crucial pivot. That was the key that finally unlocked real growth.
Okay, so that brings us to the next phase. After those dark ages of just pure grinding, we get to what the founder calls the training montage. And this is the part where all that insane effort finally starts to pay off, big time.
And yeah, it's just like in the movies. This is the part of the story where everything just clicks. All that slow, painful progress suddenly compounds into this incredible exponential momentum. The business hits a kind of critical mass and just starts moving faster than ever before.
So what drove this montage? It was a massive strategic shift. They decided to stop being a guest at other people's parties, They stopped borrowing audiences and started building their own. They hosted their own summit, launched a book to put their expertise down on paper, and even started a podcast to completely own the narrative in their space. They took control. And then that whole mindset was really put to the test. When the pandemic hit, you remember, most businesses just went into survival mode, total defense. Well, they did the exact opposite. They went on offense. They launched new programs, they built a community, all while their competitors were just retreating.
And really nothing captures that offensive mindset better than this number: $20 million. That's how much they invested in a brand new 50,000 square foot headquarters, right as the rest of the world was going fully remote. Talk about an audacious bet on your future.
So all this breakthrough momentum really set the stage for what came next. They decided to take all that energy and channel it into a single massive bet, a total moonshot that was designed to cement their place in the market for good. And the whole goal was driven by this one powerful question. See, it wasn't about being liked, it was about becoming undeniable. They basically asked themselves, what can we do that is so big, so bold, that even the people who can't stand us have to acknowledge our success?
Well, the answer was to just escalate their ambition dramatically. You can see it right here. Their big annual conference went from a nice hotel to a, slightly bigger, nicer hotel, and then, boom, a full-blown NFL Super Bowl stadium. I mean, they decided to host an event for the legal industry in a venue built for 70,000 football fans. It's wild.
And the stakes here, they were just enormous. This was an $8 million bet. If it failed, it could have meant massive financial loss, total public embarrassment. The stress almost broke the team. But the reward? Well, the reward was just as big. The chance to become undeniable, to catapult the brand into a whole new league and earn the respect of the entire industry. And you know what? It paid off. The move was so absolutely audacious that it commanded respect, even from their biggest critics. The founder said it perfectly. Even those that hated our guts respected us. They bent the knee. They had finally become undeniable.
So all this incredible success leads us to the final and maybe the most difficult transformation of all, because this next part wasn't about a business strategy anymore. It was about the evolution of the founder's role itself.
See, to truly scale a company, a founder has to completely shift their mindset. You have to move away from pure grit and focus more on judgment. Your identity has to change from being the hardest worker in the room to being the enabler of top talent. You have to stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect of a vision that can scale.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it meant the founder, the guy who used to do literally every job from sales to editing to payroll, had to systematically replace himself. He had to build a leadership team that could do all those things, actually even better than he could.
And as a result, how the founder spent his time completely flipped. Look at this. The day-to-day grind, the operations, that shrank down to just a tiny slice of his time. And all those high-leverage activities, we're talking vision, strategy, developing other leaders, that became the main focus.
And all of this leads to what is maybe the ultimate lesson of this whole journey, the founder's paradox. It's a simple but powerful idea. The value of your business is inversely proportional to how much it depends on you. In other words, the less it needs you, the more valuable it becomes.
So let's put it all together. Here is the entire 5,000-day playbook, all in one spot. You start with the grind, where grit and focus build your foundation. Then you hit the breakthrough, where you go on offense and build your own platform. And finally, you reach the evolution, where you learn to scale yourself by scaling the people around you, shifting from worker to architect.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final big question. And this one is for you to think about on your own journey. Look, your ambition and your grit got you here. There's no doubt about that. But what will it take to scale it beyond you?